he admitted that he has an unhealthy relationship with AI and he is going to be taking a break because in one of his videos, it appears that he left in a prompt from ChatGPT in the script.
When you go through the history of the Grammys doing this, very recent history, you're like, oh, y'all are really being discriminatory, right?
Yes.
And couching it in inclusion.
Beyonce was the canary in the coal mine.
Yes.
I think of Amy Winehouse, and I am still to this day heartbroken that we watched Amy Winehouse deteriorate on a public scale.
Ugh.
And then she passes away, and it's, oh my God, who could have helped? Let me fix it.
Hello and welcome back to Let Me Fix It, the podcast that says, agrees lightning. I do not have a headline today. I'm sure Fran does. My name's DeLon Grant.
Oh, go.
Wait,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Let me do it.
Sorry. You mentioned headline, and I was like, where are you going? We're not there yet.
Let the man talk.
Okay.
I'm DeLon Grant. I'm an actor, singer, writer, photographer, and an educator.
And I'm Francesca Ramsey. Welcome back to Let Me Fix It, the podcast that says... Hey, high note.
Wow. Not the last one was like in harmony.
Very dissonant, very creepy.
Sure.
Yes, I'm a TV writer, an actress, a producer, a social media strategist, and that supercut was pitched to us by one of our classmates. Shout out to Chris. They sent an email that says, could y'all do a supercut of the way you say, let me fix it at the end? It's such an amazing way to close out the show, and it always makes me smile. I don't know if it would be too much. I was up for the task. And it was worth it.
You fucking, yes, man. The edit. I mean, class, if you don't edit anything, like you don't know how much work that is. I mean, we use Riverside to record the podcast. So like it helps Fran a lot when she's doing some of the video editing. But even still, the way she cut up to say, wow, well done. Like claps, round of applause.
Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can send us a tagline, maybe as an idea like Chris did via email to letmefixitpod@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice note and we might include you right here in the show.
The other thing I want to say about how that kind of came to be, it's just a lot of our friendship is obviously on display on the pod.
Yes.
And we just started doing it one day.
I don't know why.
How, so many things came naturally on the podcast for us. Yeah. And that's one of them, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I went back and I was like, I wanted to try and find like an old clip to include. But when I went back to the old episodes, we were just like, let me fix it. Bye. Like we did it.
Even on the audio?
Yeah, like we didn't, I don't know when we started doing that or why it just started happening. But that's what happens. We are true improvisers in that way.
Yes, and.
We always yes and. And it's very funny to see, like, we do that with jokes all the time where one person will do like a little act out and the other person will be like, yeah, that's right. And we'll just like keep going.
It's like, it's such a like entertainment thing, right? And I also think this is something coming up in the episode for on my page here. It's about listening. It's also about listening. Listening is a skill that not everybody has. Sometimes you, especially when I'm sure you find this in the comedy space. Sometimes you're talking to a funny person and you're like, they're glazed over. They're looking for the joke. They're looking for the punchline. You know what I mean?
It's so true.
But listening is like a really amazing art form. And I think as actors, we really often have to not only listen for your actual cue, but listen for what you're feeling inside. Listen for something that ignites your next line, right?
Yes.
And also partnership and relationship. And this is both of those things, right? So you have to listen to each other.
Well, and I'm sure you say this to your students all the time. Acting is reacting.
Okay.
And so a lot of it is just like, I'm following your lead and vice versa. And again, I don't know when we started doing that weird. I'm also, I will say before we jump in, I'm also just like happy to hear that people watch till the very end. Because sometimes I think they're not going to see. They stopped watching.
I sometimes think like when we get to the glow up, people are like, all right, bye.
Yeah, bye. I'm out. but no, they really do keep listening. So thank you, Chris, and thank you to everybody that has continued to yes and right along with us.
Heck
DeLon,
yeah.
You said you don't have a headline?
Oh no, I have a headline.
Oh, okay.
I meant what do you call it?
A fix?
Tagline.
Okay, a tagline.
Girl, the brain today. The brain. This is my. I have been fried. A friend of mine came to see. I'm currently doing a show outside, which is in the hot sun, and my friend came to see the show, and she was like, "Well, you black." I was like, girl, I've been in the sun. I've been in the sun with this big ass hat on. So the brain is tired.
Yes.
So let's dig into the headlines.
Go
like you
for it.
said, I don't know if you heard about this, Fran, or you all class, but the South Korean boy band BTS will not be submitting their Grammys, their album for the Grammys this year, due to what I'm calling, as I've like watched kind of the social media discourse conversation, I'm calling it like segregation disguised as inclusion. And when you go through the history of the Grammys doing this, very recent history, you're like, oh, y'all are really being discriminatory, right?
Yes.
And couching it in inclusion.
Beyonce was the canary in the coal mine.
Yes. I mean, well, and to get to that before we even get to the BTS part of it, Beyonce said it out loud. She said, I have her quote here, sometimes genre is a code word to keep us in our place as artists, as she was getting her acceptance speech. So class, if you don't remember, in 2025 for the Cowboy Carter album, not only did Beyonce receive the best album of the year, she also received best country album of the year. And not a year later did the Academy come out and say, so what we're doing is we're now taking the country category and we're splitting it into best traditional country and best pop country. Now I can see where the argument might be, okay, well, they just want to make everybody have an opportunity. But you're doing that on the heels of a black artist who's trying to reclaim that music for black people and talk about that history.
And a number of white people being upset about her winning that award because people were showing their whole asses.
Well, and didn't she also perform at the Country Music Awards that year?
Well, no, she performed at the Country Music Awards years ago with the now they're just called the Chicks.
Excuse me.
And she performed with them, and supposedly that was what like inspired the Cowboy Carter album because there was such an immense backlash to her performing at the Country Music Awards. She did the song "But Daddy Lessons."
Ooh, what a bomb! What a
great and
love
you know
that song.
And they the video got taken down from the Country Music Awards website.
Wow.
There was a lot of people that had a lot of, had very controversial racist things to say. They were
Y'all can't tell me this is not
racism.
You can't tell me this is not racism.
Oh, it is 1,000%. I mean, they panned to the audience, and there are people in the audience that were just like, and she brought the house down. She brought the house down, and it was the same way that they're now doing this pop country album. Y'all didn't have that category when Taylor Swift decided that she wanted to do pop music.
Exactly.
Y'all didn't come up with that category when, and like, look, I love a Casey Musgraves, but she could be seen as pop country, the type of music that she does. And so, similarly with this now BTS thing.
On the Casey Musgraves of it all, I don't know what year this was, but she submitted her music under the country category, and the Academy the Grammys, they moved it into the pop category. And so now she's competing with people in pop music because they have this weird kind of clause in their I don't know.
She makes
contract.
She makes pop country music, but she makes country music. But she makes country music.
But they have this clause that says, like, you can submit in the pop category, but I can say as a Grammy head, I can say we're going to put you in the R&B and rap category because of whatever. So I mean, Tyler the Creator has dealt with this. The Weeknd dealt with this, right? It's not new here. But BTS is clapping back, and I really appreciate what they've said here. In a statement, all 7 of the band members posted this on their Instagram stories at the same time in Korean. They said, "We have decided not to enter the Grammys this year. I hope that the music can be heard and loved for what it is rather than being divided by region or language." So the other part of this is to their credit, they've come up with 5 new categories, and maybe that's just something they do every year. I'm just new to this category building, right? But one of them is Best Asian Pop song, or excuse me, Best Asian Pop Performance.
Okay.
I bring up song because I don't know if you remember the craze around K-pop Demon Hunters, Fran.
Yes.
But they won for a song under the Golden, but it was under the a specific category. They were the first K-pop album to win under like a visual digital media, right?
What is
and
that?
so Listen,
visual. This is a music. Not. It's not your fault, but I'm like, this is a music award ceremony.
Yeah, best song for visual media. So they're the first K-pop song to ever win, right? But then on the heels of that, that's where they come up with this new Asian category. And the other stipulation about the Asian category is you have to have it has to be a specific Asian language in the lyric. And this new album by BTS is called Arirang. And their big title song, Swim, has hit number one on the top Billboard 200, and it's in English. And so they can't even be considered for it, right? And the larger issue here, though, the larger issue here is that they're a huge band. I don't listen to them. Y'all, let us know if you listen to BTS, but now I'm about to. I did listen to Swim, and I was like, this sounds a little black. Not gonna say nothing.
Oh, I mean, there's a whole conversation because it does feel like they're doing like they're doing, a Jackson 5 impression. Yeah. They're doing a Boyz II Men impression. Yeah. Sometimes I don't know about BTS, but some of these K-pop groups, they'll have a rapper in there. Yes! I'm like, what's your rapping?
Well, and again, they're putting on a black scent. They're putting on a black scent.
Yes.
As far as, come at me if you want, but that's what I hear,
Yes, yes.
But that being said, I do agree with where they're coming from in that, like, we don't need you, Grammys. You actually need us. Because lest we forget, the Grammys viewership has been down over the last few years. All of these award shows have been, their viewership has been down.
Yeah.
And I think it was maybe last year where BTS performed or the year before. And their viewers were like, yes, the BTS, what they call them, the tribe,
the army.
The BTS army was there, and the BTS army is now pissed about this, and as it should be.
Yeah.
But I'm really about them not necessarily sticking it to the Grammys, but pushing back and being like, yo, if you're not going to accept us, if you don't want to compete with us on the same level, then we're just not even going to be a part of it. Because this creator had a really great point on TikTok. She was like, remember when they created the Latin Grammys? That's because they didn't want to compete with Latin American artists.
Yeah.
Like the rap and R&B is popular music.
Yes.
Why is it not in the pop category? They create categories so they don't have to compete, or it seems as such,
Yeah. I mean, just the idea that they're like, okay, we're going to now have an Asian pop category. It's so transparent. It's so transparent because, again, like, that's not to say that there aren't other K-pop groups that are deserving of being nominated, but BTS is like the top of the top. So to create, just because again, they're not creating an African pop. And that's not to say that there's not some African groups that are killing it, right? Like there are global stars in every single genre of music. But to create that one specifically, it feels like if BTS is here, then they're going to just win the whole pop category, and that's not going to be fair. It's like, what do you mean?
But it's what pisses me off about that is it's a superlative.
Yes,
you're saying this band is the best. This song is the best. If they're that popular, then they're the best. They're what people really like, right? It's crazy to me. It's changing the game. It's changing the whole game and rigging it.
Well, and to BTS's credit, again, because Beyonce did mention this, and I'm sure she was not the first, but I also really appreciate that they are acknowledging that awards in the long run are kind of meaningless. It's all just a matter of someone's opinion. And every award season, we talked about this with the potential for the Oscars when we talked about the invite. Every award season, people play these games where, they decide when they're going to release the movie. They decide they're going to do these for-year consideration events, which really were seen as taboo. I think it was before Harvey Weinstein. When he did, was it for, what was the one that Gwyneth won?
Shakespeare in Love.
Shakespeare in Love. You were supposed to throw parties and special screenings because there have been times where an album or an artist or a movie will get a nomination and people are like, I've never seen that movie before.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Oh, it's because they released it at a film festival and did some special screenings and they did a push and they sent out gift baskets and they did all this shit. And now suddenly they got a nomination. So ultimately, while it's an honor to be nominated, at the end of the day, it's just a few people's opinion.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean there are tons of people that don't have Grammys that are very talented. And there are some people that I'm like, I don't get it.
Oh, listen, don't get me started. Don't get me
How do
started.
they have an award? I don't understand. But it shows a lot about their character and their confidence of self. That they're
Yeah.
like, we don't actually need this award,
Because they're
we know we will win it. They know
Well,
they would.
right.
They know they would win.
Well, because they're also going on a world tour and they're trying to get that bag. Like they just finished their mandatory service year.
Yes.
I don't know if it's specifically in their army in Korea, in South Korea, but they finished that, and so they're like, let's go. We're ready to get out here and make this coin, you know. So they're not worried about the Grammys. Again, it's a big, like you said, it's kind of these award shows are just for marketing purposes,
Of
right?
course.
It's kind of like a little bit of a big circle jerk. Like let's congratulate each other, but it's it's about people getting to see your movie, people buying your album, people going to your concert. It's high visibility, but again, with more of us sitting on TikTok, with more of us sitting on YouTube, the Grammys and prime time is getting less relevant.
Yeah, and I think the Grammys are supposed to be on YouTube next year, and that I thought was very smart, and I do think a lot of people will tune in, but not smart for them to create this special category because it does feel. It's giving segregation. It really is
hard segregation by inclusion, and again, we're not stupid. We're not stupid. Not in 2026, right? So like, y'all need to rebrand here. But BTS, I'm about it. I'm glad for the statement. I'm glad that they didn't even talk shit about the Grammys. They were just like, no, we're good.
We don't need
very,
it.
very, very kind and gentle.
Class, tell us if you are in the BTS army and what song we should check out. If you've never listened to their music before, where should you start? Because
I've listened to Swim today.
I can't tell you one song of theirs, but I wish them the best. I really do.
Fran, what's your headline?
All right, before I jump in, I'm going to offer a content warning. We are going to be talking about bodies and eating disorders. So this is your chance to tap out. If that is if you don't want to talk about that or listen to that, this is your time to leave. So, of course, as I kind of just hinted at, Miss Ariana Grande has announced that she's taking a step back from visibility after her tour ends, after a lot of public scrutiny over this new music video for.
Scrutiny?
I'm taking a step back from this podcast. After my co-host keeps talking shit about, is it scrutiny?
Scrutiny. I mean, it's you know what? English is fucked up. There's definitely a T in there. There's definitely a T
in there.
But we do say scrutiny.
Scrutiny.
The T function is kind of like a stop. Scrutiny.
Yeah, and see, this is my thing, English. Pick it. You play hard and fast and loose with the rules.
PH is an F.
Why is the T silent? It's definitely in there.
Right. So funny. Continue.
Okay. So, as people have been talking about Ariana's latest music video, Delon, have you seen the video?
I saw a little bit of a clip that stayed on the internet, but they kind of took the section that was on her Instagram down because it was getting so many.
Yes.
I mean, where there were people talking about ED and they were like, hey, if you or anyone you know suffering from ED, please reach out to this number or whatever.
Yes. So on Instagram, you can add like a little, I don't know what they call
content warning.
It's a content warning or like a little disclaimer, and someone
community guidelines.
A community note is what it's called.
Community note, yeah.
And somebody added one, and they presumably Ariana or her team took the video clip off of her Instagram. The new video is in support of her new album. The album is called Pedal, and that is also what the song is called. And in the music video, if you haven't seen it, Delon, she's playing this actress named Pepper, and it's a series of auditions. It's kind of like styled in like a 50s housewife kind of style. And she's going in and she's performing for like a panel of casting directors. And each time she auditions, the casting directors are like, you're not good enough. And they like stamp this little paper and they tell her. But the thing that a lot of people are noticing is she looks really, really thin.
In the tiny clothes she's wearing, you can see that the clothes are big. The clothes look big on her.
She's very, very thin, and I'm going to share some pictures. So please, bear with us here. Dewan, can you see the picture?
I can, yeah.
It's really, really difficult to look at. And
it's very, very scary.
It's really, really sad. And it has kind of started this big conversation around what's the line when it comes to discussing a celebrity and their appearance. And there are a number of people who are saying, it's not appropriate to talk about her body. And there are like these little Easter eggs in the video. For example, like the casting directors are writing on a little piece of paper, like feedback about her audition. And in one of the notes they write, like, could stand to lose a few pounds.
Oh my God.
It's like, why is that in there? Like,
also, wow.
Right. And it's like, okay, maybe in the context of the music video, because it's an audition, and we do know that like Hollywood is unkind to young women. Like, we know this, but like the optics just feel irresponsible on the part of her team. I'm going to put it on her team and her, but like, to me, I'm like, I just can't believe that you guys let this.
I'll say this. As we say on this podcast a lot, many things can be true at once.
Yes.
Like, I really do understand that she, despite being a public person, she's allowed to her own life. She's allowed to her own business, her own struggles, her own joys, all of that. And that is none of our business, right?
Yes.
The difficult part of that is that we have a parasocial relationship with these people. So we think that we know them because we've listened to the albums. We've talked about this before. We've listened to the albums. We've connected with the albums. We've been with them through relationships. She's been famous since she was 13 in the musical on Broadway. 13.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like people have seen her grow up, been fans, gone to all of the concerts, and so you feel like you know her, and at the same time, knowing equals care.
Know her. Yes.
You care for her. And so that gets a little muddy and gets confused. At the same time, the other point that I would bring up is you talked about young women. Being in this business, being in this industry is terrible for all of us, but and it's joyful in a lot of other ways, but it is hard on women. It is so hard on women. And I can only imagine what she's dealing with if she considers herself to be dealing with an issue at all. But there is a responsibility because of the way that we consume you. It's because of the way that we idolize you, the way you are an example in some ways.
She's a lot of young fans, of young fans.
Unfortunately, that kind of eclipses, in some respects, not all of it, but eclipses a little bit of the personal, right?
Yeah.
Because we feel not we have ownership, but we feel like we're connected to you, especially for young people, like you said, for young women, like looking up to her. That's a really hard a pill to swallow,
Yeah. And again, I'm so thankful that you said many things can be true, because it is a fact that our industry and our media are very difficult on women. And, I think about when we were young and the way they talked about Jessica Simpson being fat. And Jessica Simpson has never been fat a day in her life. Not that there's anything wrong with being fat, but she was maybe a size 8. And they were like, oh, look at how big she is, or like when Britney Spears came back after having a kid, and she her stomach is still pretty flat, but they were calling her big, But then a lot of people keep bringing up, well, look at how y'all treated Chadwick Boseman, and he was ill, and didn't we learn anything from that? And it's like, I don't think it's fair to compare those situations, because Ariana has had a documented eating disorder for a very long time. She was posting pro-Anna content on her Tumblr way back in the day.
Was she really? I didn't know that.
Yes. And class, if you're not familiar, pro-Anna unfortunately stands for pro-anorexia. And social media really became a breeding ground for this kind of content, where young girls would share tips and share photos of themselves to show off how thin they were. And, again, I think on the one hand, I feel conflicted, because a lot of Ariana's fans have been saying, like, do you guys feel proud of yourselves? Because now she pulled out of this play, and she had some stuff.
Yeah, she's doing Sunday in the Park with George on the West End, which was slated for next year.
Yes. And so she has pulled out of that, and her team released a statement saying that she's taking the step back from visibility after the tour wraps on September 1st. It says she looks forward to finishing the tour and ending on a high note, both healthily and happily, and then taking a much deserved break from public facing work and appearances, which have led to endless ongoing public scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. And so, I think it's interesting that her team put out this statement that stresses healthfully and happily, and then also really highlights the public as if the public is to blame here.
Right.
And I just don't think that that's fair.
No.
I think of Amy Winehouse, and I am still to this day heartbroken that we watched Amy Winehouse deteriorate on a public scale.
Ugh.
And then she passes away, and it's, oh my God, who could have helped? Why didn't, and I don't wish that on anyone. I absolutely don't wish that on Ariana Grande, but people are speaking out, not because they want to bully her. People are worried. Every clip I've seen of her performing, I mean, she is a generational talent. There's no doubt about it. She's so funny. Every time she's won on SNL, Wicked, she got an Oscar nomination. Her production value, the layering and all of she makes so many interesting, beautiful choices.
She's a brilliant musician vocally.
She is a brilliant musician. Nobody wants to see this have a tragic end, and people keep bringing up Karen Carpenter.
I was going to say Karen Carpenter, class. If you don't know about Karen Carpenter, she was the lead singer of the Carpenters and then had a solo career in her own right. She died, I think it was of a heart attack, but she suffered from anorexia, and the world just watched her on TV get smaller and smaller and smaller until she passed away.
Yeah,
and people are asking the same question: why didn't anybody do anything? And I think the thing I want to add to this conversation, Fran, is like I have my own body issues. I know you do too. We've talked about that over the years. Fran and I would go to the gym twice a day in college, eating tuna like crazy shit, right? But that's our own stuff that we've gotten over. We're much more healthy now. But like, it's triggering for people, and I think that's a part of it, because we all do have our own kind of, if you don't have suffer from body dysmorphia, you have your own body issues. And so the reason that people feel at liberty to speak about it is not only all that other stuff I mentioned earlier, but it's that, oh God, you're reflecting a part of my own insecurity that I have, so I have to say something. It's also the internet, so it's low hanging fruit, and having the saying something about it. But I think that's part of it too. It's triggering for people, not only people with disorders, but like people who did watch Karen Carpenter, people who did watch Amy Winehouse. You know what I mean? Who watched Britney Spears in her own journey. Not that it's the same thing, but she had some mental health issues. You know, so I think it's triggering for all of us, despite it being a very private moment for her and her team and family.
Well, and I think the really insidious thing about the Karen Carpenter story is that she was getting treatment. And unfortunately, when you've done this much,
she died when she was eating again.
You do all this damage to your body, and it's irreversible. Irreversible.
She couldn't take all of the food, the calories, and that was what caused her heart to.
You have to be really careful when you go through this treatment. It has severe consequences on your body. I wanted to highlight actress Jamila Jamil from The Good Place has been really vocal about this. She's talked a lot about her own eating disorder journey. And again, she really, I think, very brilliantly and very empathetically has talked about the dichotomy that we're all being presented with about, like, should we say anything? Is it bad to say anything? And she says, the shrinking pop star situation is something of a trolley problem. If we comment on her body, we could harm her mental health, which would be awful, and nobody wants that. If we don't comment on her body, we run the risk of normalizing that image to hundreds of millions of teenage girls, kids, and even impressionable adults consuming her content, which is pointedly accentuating her bones and tiny frame with belts and corsets. I think it's worth considering that the pop star in question has access to a lot of mental health care and the best facilities on the planet, whereas the fans watching largely don't. Many have no support system equipped to handle the deadly clutches of anorexia. Her most recent images are flooding pro-anorexia websites, and teenage girls are saying goals. When will it be time to
Wow.
intervene as a public and stop normalizing, glamorizing, and on some occasions championing this? When we lose a young woman in the public eye, I mean, class, if you've never heard of the trolley problem, it's a famous ethical thought experiment about a runaway train. And it's like an illustration is usually accompanied with it, where you are faced with the potential to run over one person or five people. And so it's like, whose life are you going to save in this situation?
Oh,
Either way,
like going on a track and it splits.
it splits. And so you have this the challenge of like somebody's going to get hurt either way.
Right.
And I thought that it was a brilliant analogy to use in the situation because unfortunately, as someone in the public eye she's dealt with so much, from the Nickelodeon stuff to
the relationship
Mac
stuff,
Miller, and then like the bomb at one of her concerts,
in
like
Manchester, England. Yeah.
She has been through so much, but, I would be remiss if I don't point out that when we talk about, like, we can't talk about people's bodies, a lot of people feel okay calling somebody fat. If it's a fat person, well, you are normalizing being fat and
Being
you
unhealthy.
should.
Well, and I think that another thing I'll add to the conversation is when most of our media is centered around how we look, most of the products that we buy, especially women, most of the products that we buy have to do with bettering your skin, eating right, all of the
Looking
makeup,
young
all of
forever.
all of that stuff. So it's a neuroses that we all have that marketing and ads really push toward us. So it makes sense that we have an opinion on it. It makes sense that we're kind of somewhat obsessed with it. And like the celebrity culture of it all is part of that too,
Yeah.
I really do hope, that her time away, she may not think she has a problem. We don't know that. We don't know what's happening on the back end.
Right.
But I hope that in her time away that she's able to like really steel herself, STEEL, against what's happening. Meaning like that she can find a therapist, find whatever she needs, some kind of support, resources, so that she can come back in public and feel better about herself. And no matter what people are saying, because let's remember, people are going to talk.
Yeah, I mean, it is an unfortunate part of being a public person, and I cannot pretend to know what it's like at that level. I got a very tiny taste of it, and Delon will tell y'all firsthand. I text him many a times, and I say, please keep me from cursing these motherfuckers out, because people will try you. And Ariana Grande is very chronically online. And I would argue it's one of the things that's helped her be successful, that she's very tapped in with her audience and she's very accessible to her fans. But to your point, Delon, I really hope she can take this time away from the public eye and really get to the root of what is happening here. Because if it's not a mental health thing and it's, an actual illness, she still needs to take time to heal and recover. And of course, again, like really do the work to heal from the discourse. I know it can't be easy to hear so many people talking about her in this way, and I really hope that someone on her team can stress to her that a lot of this feedback is coming from a place of, we want you to be here. This is not just because look, when I saw Wicked, it was difficult to look at her in some of those scenes.
The two of them, let's be honest, because Cynthia also during that press tour, they were thin.
Yes.
They were very thin.
Yes.
And they have every right to be who they want to be in their bodies, right? They wanted to look a certain way, that's their prerogative. But at the same time, again, when we're consuming that, when the objective is you're selling something to us, the something being you, your music, your talent, all of it. I don't say that we have a right to have an opinion, but the First Amendment, anybody can say anything they want to say, no matter what you think or.
Well, something you've said before, I think when we're talking about politics, it's like the agreement that we are in as the
contract,
audience,
the social contract,
like the social contract. It's like the trade-off is you get to be a celebrity. And again, on the one hand, it's like you want us to talk about you.
Yes.
You do the red carpets, you do all the outfits, now with social.
Hire a PR firm.
And now with social media, celebrities are creating content lifting the veil in ways that they didn't before. Usually
Yeah.
you weren't seeing a what's in my closet and what's in my bag and get ready with me and what I eat in the day. You weren't getting that from celebrities. They were showing up to the red carpet, doing the press and going home. And so now we are getting all of this content about them. So yes, people are going to form opinions. That does not mean that all opinions are created equally.
Right.
And that people don't cross the line, because they absolutely do. But, you know, the thing that I think about, Delon, is when they say the camera adds 10 pounds, anytime I've met a celebrity in person, I'm always like, you are so much smaller. I'm talking in stature and in size. Every single time. So then when I see somebody looking that visibly gaunt, I'm like, oh God, it must be really bad.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people who on camera, you think, oh, they look average. And then you see them in person, you're like, oh, you are just a little Polly Pocket. You a sliver of a memory. You ain't much to you. I'm so serious.
Polly Pocket. Come on, Polly. No, it's legit. It's legit. I honestly, I feel the same way, especially when we're talking about doing press tours or a red carpet situation. Yeah, those, and again, I hate to put it on women, but it is, you know, women.
Yeah.
It's a lot of women.
Listen,
the pressure that happens for actresses in this industry and musicians in this industry is crazy.
I will never forget. Delon, remember when I won that YouTube contest and I went to the Emmys? Class, I won this contest in 2008. I won a YouTube contest and I got to go to the Emmys and be a red carpet reporter. And they documented my whole journey. And I met with a stylist, and I will never forget. That stylist said to me, well, you're a size 8. And that's really difficult to shop for.
Oh my God.
Mind you, that was the smallest I think I had been in adulthood.
Wow.
And he was so like, ugh, having to shop for a size 8 was just the most difficult. I'm like, first of all, that's your job.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know, 23. I didn't say that. I was genuinely so excited to be there, but also so embarrassed. Like, oh God, I'm gonna look big.
What's crazy about that too, Fran, is like, class, Fran and I often look back on pictures of ourselves, especially when we're in our 20s, when the metabolism was on point. And Fran was working out 5 days a week with a fucking trainer. We look back and damn, you were thin. You were so thin. And likewise, right? Like very, very, and it's just crazy to me that somebody would say that to you, given our perspective now, and also given the amount of work you were doing. I mean, bitch, you still go to the gym 5 days a week. You be in that gym.
And you know, this is something we've talked about a lot, and I think we did an episode a few years ago about body image. It's been a journey, and I'll be totally honest with you. I have many a days where I'm not happy with where I'm at. I've been going through perimenopause. You know, the way that my body responds is different than it was at another time in my life. It's a big part of why I stopped drinking. I couldn't do it anymore, right? And so our perspective is often so warped when it comes to how we feel about ourselves. And so I have a supreme amount of empathy for somebody who's in the public eye and is no doubt hearing it to your face. You know, I remember one time I did an audition and the man told me, "Oh, you're very pretty, but your gums show too much when you smile." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I thought like, "Oh my God, should I get this? There's a surgery where they will take off part of your gums." And I was like, "Should I do that?" And it really got to me. And I'm so glad that I didn't do it. But you see this happen in Hollywood. Did you ever watch that show, The Boys?
Oh, yeah.
The blonde girl that's on there has done a bunch of stuff to her face.
God, I don't know why she did that to her face, because she looks all puffy.
Because somebody told her, somebody must have said something to her. And if you don't have a good team around you, it's very easy to see how quickly it can spiral out of control. Or what's the girl from Dirty Dancing? She got her
Jennifer
nose.
Grey. And never worked again.
Changed the one thing about herself that really made her stand out.
Never worked again. I mean, huge movie. She should be a huge star right now. Patrick Swayze went on and it became a huge fucking star. This woman, nowhere to be found. And she talks about it to this day. It was one of the biggest things that hurt her career. And she's still gorgeous, you know?
She's gorgeous, but she just looks like everybody now.
Yeah. Everybody Instagram face.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, listen, we are sending love, strength, and support to Ariana Grande. I want her to come back healthy, better than ever. And, you know, when she's ready to talk to us about what it was, I will be seated. I will be there.
Well, I'm ready for that 2020 interview. And I think I'm glad that you brought this up because I know there is, as you started to say, there's like a moral question about whether we should be having these opinions and kind of disseminating, propagating even more of the story. But I do think it's worth having a conversation about it because, like I said, the way that we're sold things, the way that we have insecurities it's all kind of tied into the same thing. And it sucks that that her celebrity and what she's going through is the catalyst for us to have the conversation. Yes. But I do think it's a worthwhile conversation to be having.
Agreed. I think the subtext or the underlying conversation I hope we take away is that eating disorders are not just about looks, it's about control. A lot of people are dealing the same way that, you know, people that become addicted to drugs. It's less about like, oh, I want to have a good time, and more of I'm dealing with something that I am struggling with. And so I'm going to use this thing to mask it as an escape. I lack a sense of control in this area of my life. So I am going to over control my consumption, my body. I'm going to shrink myself. Like there's, you know, it's a very complicated disease. And my hope is that this starts a conversation with parents and their children to say, hey, you know, I want to take care of you and make sure you take care of yourself. Let's get you into some treatment if possible. Let's make sure that we are having conversations about body image and what we're consuming. Because unfortunately, once you get to a certain point, it can really go south very quickly.
Yeah, man. And we've seen it. And I think that's what everyone is a little bit scared of, you know?
Yeah.
All right, let's hop over to the fix, huh?
Yes.
Let's hop over to the fix. So we've talked about AI a lot on this podcast. It is a worthwhile conversation class because, you know, we are all, if you don't engage with it on a regular basis, which we all do, right at this point, we all do. We try to avoid it.
Sometimes you don't have a choice. They just force it down your foot. You know? Force it down your throat.
You try to avoid it. One of the conversations that keeps coming up, and I say this somewhat facetiously, is when are teachers going to be replaced by AI? And why is that? Because we don't fund schools well. We aren't paying teachers well. And I think every local government is struggling, not every, but a lot of them are struggling with what to do with their schools, with the school board and money, basically, right? So this is a way to invest a lot of money and take away jobs, which AI is going to be really good at. So this school in upstate New York in Salamanca has just scrapped a pilot program of having an AI teacher in the classroom that would assist the teacher. It's not taking over, but it would assist. The pilot program has been scrapped because of privacy issues, a growing backlash in the community, but most interestingly, because the manufacturer linked to the company that they were going to buy this technology from is linked to another company that makes sex dolls. It's ridiculous.
Now, that is, why would you want to be in the education industry? Do what you want to do, but to not anticipate that would be a problem for some clients is bonkers.
The internet is vast and people are going to find it. Everything stays on the internet. So they're scrapping it. And the president of the state teachers union says she never thought she would have to say these two things in the same sentence, but a robot built by a company associated with sex dolls has no business in our classrooms. So I brought this up because I want to talk about the pros and cons when we're talking about the fix of it all, right?
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned resources and it's not only local governments, but our federal government eroding our Department of Education. They're really trying to get rid of that because if you educate people, then they're going to read and they're going to know what you're doing, and they're not just going to be sycophantic and follow.
An ignorant public is a public that is easy to control.
That's a Donald Trump quote, almost verbatim, almost verbatim what he has said.
He did say, "I love the highly uneducated," but
Yeah.
the idea of an uneducated public is one that's easy to control. Is one that I know has been said many a times before him.
Yes.
But again, you are correct. One of the most truthful, if not the only truthful thing he's ever said was that he loves the uneducated.
Well, because that's what a lot of the MAGA base tends to be. I think not an opinion. I think that's the truth.
Yeah.
And the other part of that is the culture wars, all of that kind of discriminatory hate that exists on that side of the political spectrum is the thing that feeds him and feeds that movement, you know?
Yeah.
So resources are a big issue, and I can see, playing devil's advocate to my actual thoughts and opinion, I can see where you as a school board or a superintendent will go, hey, if we're struggling financially, if we have if we have 5 schools in our jurisdiction and we have to close down 3 of them, and that means class sizes, why not help these teachers out, help us out, and invest a lot of money and still educate as many students as we can with this technology. The thing that my very con opinion or against this is not only the jobs part of it, but like the human touch part of it,
Yes.
It's the idea that, and I'll bring my fix up here in a second, but the idea that like, not only do I have a question about a math problem, but I learn differently. And so if we have a pat way of teaching things, teachers can't get creative with individual students. And I know that's a big issue because class sizes are huge, but like I'm dyslexic, and I'm not good at math. And so I had specific teachers. I'll never forget. I actually just sent my English teacher from high school a text message because I'll never forget her sitting down with me to write my college essay in the computer lab, because I have a computer at home, in the computer lab, and going, we need to edit this. So what are you actually trying to say? And she didn't type a word, but she was helping me figure out how to say it in an academic way so that I can express myself fully, right? She took that time. If I didn't have that, I don't know that I would have gotten to the University of Michigan and got that education that got me to who I am today, or the Boston Conservatory, or whatever, That personal touch is really significant. I think I know you will lose that with an AI. The privacy
They're losing it right now. Students are struggling to read because they're outsourcing everything to AI. I will also add to that, Delon, the human touch, but also AI hallucinates. We know this to be true. It makes things.
It makes things up.
It makes things up.
In a quest to get to say an answer, it just says anything.
In a quest to give you an answer, it makes things up, and it combs the internet. And I think I mentioned this to you in another episode, that, for example, if you say, how do I bake a cake? Okay. And it combs the internet and it finds a satirical cake recipe. It has the potential to pull the information from someplace that's made to be a joke, or is, tongue in cheek, or is just wrong, right? Somebody just wrote something that's incorrect, and then it gives it to you as if it's correct. And unfortunately, if you are using it as a research tool and you don't know the correct answer, there's no way for you to know what info it's giving you is good or bad. And so we've seen this a lot with students using AI to write papers, and teachers saying, like, the paper makes no sense.
I think there was some politician too
that
had some kind of.
He was a Canadian politician. It's interesting, Delon, because this is related to my fix.
Hilarious.
His name is Bill Oliver. He accidentally read the AI generated prompt inside of the speech. And the prompt said something like, the video is in it. He didn't even, what's wild about it is he didn't even read the speech beforehand, but as he's reading it, he's not even processing it. He's not even processing it. It says something like, I'll go ahead and try to make it sound more like a political speech, or whatever it is that the chat or whatever said to him. But again, I've seen a number of teachers talking about how what they'll do is they'll hide in the assignment a white line of text that says something like, include the word Madagascar somewhere in the paper. And the students will just copy and paste, drop it into the chat GPT, spit out an essay. They won't even read what it is that they've spit out. And then here it is. It says something about Madagascar in the middle of the paper. And the teacher is able to say, "Oh, you cheated." I think it was a black teacher too. He said like 75% of his class failed because they all used ChatGPT.
That's crazy. I, as an educator who teaches college, I teach performance, so there's not a lot of like writing that needs to happen. But I've in constructing my curriculum for my 4 classes that I'm teaching in the fall, it's crazy that I do have to think about this, and I go, okay, I want them to come up with, tell me a story about X, or tell me a time that you felt X, and I go, well, actually, I need to have them write it out and by hand,
Right.
or I need to give time in class for them to extemporize on it, to just say it out off the top of the dome, because I don't want them to go to ChatGPT because they're already overwhelmed with a lot of stuff that they're dealing with.
I saw a really cool thread from a teacher who was talking about how he's tried to combat AI use, but also really educate the students. So it's not just a don't use it, right? Like he actually has them use it, but then compare it to like what the book actually says. So he says, I want you to like, here's whatever it is that we're learning about in this class. And I forget what the class was, but we're learning about this subject. I want you to tell me what ChatGPT says. And then I want you to go to the library and I want you to tell me what that book says. And then I also want you to go find an article. So I want you to compare and contrast so that we can then have an in-depth conversation about finding sources and, a variety of sources and how you can come to a conclusion. It was really, really interesting. And I was really impressed to see that a teacher was kind of taking the added step and doing way more work for himself, right? Because now he has to reference 3 different pieces of media from the student.
Yeah.
But I think the underlying goal of like getting them to understand why it is not smart to use that as your one and only source, on top of it doing the work for you. But I think that is a more powerful way to get people to understand the consequences rather than just going, don't use it, because that's not enough. They're going to use it, right?
Yeah, I was dating this neuroscientist who's also a teacher. I think it was last year, and he was telling me that he has his students who are, he teaches chemistry, and a lot of them are going to med school. And on their assignments, he would have them use ChatGPT for part of the assignment. Like, you actually have to know, I don't know anything about chemistry, but you actually have to know like the problem or like the issue that you're working out. But he would say, put this in ChatGPT and see what the solve is, and then compare it to how you would solve it, right? So to your point, you would have to have 2 separate submissions for the assignment or the question. I thought that was really kind of smart.
Yeah.
And he used it actively too. And I was like, God, I think that's a really smart way of using it. But it feels like cheating to me, despite,
Yeah.
My fix for this is really basic, really, really basic. I understand resources, but what if we just went to the actual teachers in the classroom and said, what do you need? What do you need? You know what I mean? Because
what a thought.
You know what I mean? Because let's also think about this. How are these models being trained? They're being trained on books and articles that have been written by teachers, educators, so that they know what works best, right? And I just think we have to have people in the classroom. We have to have people for the personal touch part of it. And we know that teachers have been struggling since the dawn of time when it comes to teaching our children. I just think we have to sit down and ask them what they need. And
money.
Yes,
they need,
because they're buying supplies out of their own, stuff.
Yes.
I have a couple teacher friends that do that.
Yes, I have a few teachers in my audience that every year they send me like their teacher wish list. And I try to send them a little something. I'm not going to buy the most expensive thing, but like I can buy you some markers for the class. I can buy you some garbage, bags or whatever. But the fact that teachers have to do that is
Crazy.
terrible. It's
Crazy.
terrible. And they shouldn't have to offload it on the parents, right? Because you have kids from all sorts of socioeconomic backgrounds, and you run the risk of a kid feeling embarrassed that their
Oh,
parents can't contribute, right?
let me
And
tell you, growing up poor, I mean, I had people who, I mean, there was like a costume fee for the plays that we did, and I never paid a costume fee. I was never asked for the costume fee. It was my theater director from high school just being like, she knew I couldn't pay it,
Yeah.
and somebody else took care of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the trips, the competitions we went on, never had to pay that, you know, because adults were like, but it should be fee for everyone, I think.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But it matters because there's already shame associated with that. You know what I mean?
Right. And the reality is, yes, our schools are in need of funds, but y'all somehow have funds for everything. Y'all got funds for the football team. Y'all got funds for the new stadium.
Talk about it.
You know what I mean? Like there's always a place that we find money to put into certain things.
Our priorities are off.
The priorities are all off because teachers getting higher pay is going to make the classroom environment leaps and bounds better.
Right.
The other part of the like, oh, we're giving you an AI assistant to help you. No, you're not. You're using an AI assistant to spy on what's happening in the classroom so that next year you can cut jobs and say the AI will teach the students.
Right.
You know, like it's come on.
And not only is the AI learning in real time, but I can see like now the teacher has to troubleshoot the AI. Now the teacher has the technology to go, oh, I don't know, this is going rogue. I don't know if it's teaching right. So I have to monitor what the kids are learning from the robot and also be attentive to the kids in class. It's an extra thing that the teachers have to do. So my fix is we have to listen to teachers. I know, and find the fucking resources. Find the resources.
Stop
We are a
sending
rich
money to
country.
Israel.
Oh.
That would help us. Why are we paying for we pay
billions
for health,
of dollars?
We pay for free health care for them. Why can't we give that money to our schools? Like it blows my mind that it's controversial to say I don't want my money to drop bombs on children. I don't.
Sorry.
And I would be absolutely okay with kids getting free lunch all summer long.
Man, did you hear about that lady who packed extra lunches for kids to take home and she went to jail, was arrested?
No, but it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me.
You know she was black.
Of course, but you can rape children. You
and
can
be the president of the United States.
Rape children and send all sorts of emails bragging and talking about it and be fine. And be fine. Again, this is why it is mind-blowing to me that anybody could say that they are pro-life. They are pro-life, but they don't want to do anything to help the lives that we have right here on this earth.
That part.
Y'all are pro-birth. You just care about the baby coming into the world. You don't care about making sure that the parents have, you know, the help that they need, whether it be babysitters or pre-K.
And what is it specifically? And now we're going off topic here, but what is it specifically about the birth? Yes, the birth, but like if we're talking about a soul, spiritual, religion, a soul, why do we not care about the people that are homeless on the street currently living versus the newborn that's coming out of a womb?
I mean, there's a lot of different theories. I mean, I think ultimately the hypocrisy is just baked into the party itself. I think you will drive yourself nuts trying to figure out what it is. But they have all of these thoughts about, you know, the idea that if you have an abortion, that the soul, which again, an abortion is not it's not a person. Okay. Right. It's like a clump of cells, but they believe that if the soul doesn't have a chance to be proselytized to, that it goes to hell. So they're more concerned about it's nonsensical. They're more concerned about the afterlife than this current life.
Yeah.
And so even if you are homeless, to them, they're like, well, if I can make you Christian, then it doesn't matter.
At least you'll go to heaven.
At least you'll go to heaven. And it's, again, it doesn't really make any sense, because if y'all read that book, it talks about creating heaven on earth. And I'm not super religious, but I went to Catholic school. And so, you know, it talks about doing unto others as you would do unto me, and treating your neighbor like, a member of your family. But they don't like that part.
No.
They pick and
What do they
choose
call
what
it?
parts.
I grew up with a lot of Catholic people. Cafeteria Catholic. You go around, you just choose what you want. You choose what works for you and when it works for you.
Yeah, they also have like a Christian on Sunday, or like there's a bunch of different names for it. But yeah, it's pretty wild to see. And I agree with you. We need to talk to teachers because listen, I watch a lot of teacher talk. I love teacher talk, and I see a lot of them talking about sounding the alarm about the kids not being able to read and the kids struggling with attention spans. I saw a teacher talking about how her students, they have no inner dialogue. They just say whatever is in their mind. And she said she thinks it's because they watch so many YouTube streamers and game streamers that narrate every part of their life all the time. So now that's what the students are doing. And she's like, close your mouth. And they're just like, now I think this. Now I'm, and it's like, no, that's not how this works.
Ma'am.
You close your mouth and I teach.
That's crazy. Yeah. I hope we do something about the education system, despite, the erosion from this administration. But I tell you what, AI robots are not it. And I'm glad that this community specifically pushed back on this school's pilot program. And I hope that we all continue to push back on AI because, as if anyone listens to Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, who just had these two blips where they were able to hack into other companies, whatever, and get into their servers and stuff. He was like, well, that was a mistake. And we were like, didn't we say that this was a possibility of it going rogue and not listening to you all?
Yes.
And now we're reaching the point of no return. All right. Yeah. So we all need to keep pushing back and having this conversation.
Well, and let me just say before I get into my fix, yes, I'm glad they pushed back, but it concerns me that the pushback was really only rooted in the fact that they were doing sex toy stuff.
The sex dolls.
Because there's some other company that's gonna be like, we don't do any sex stuff.
You know what we do? We just put cameras in the classroom.
We just do bomb stuff. Are you okay with AI bombs? I kid, but I'm also serious.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll never forget seeing, the wall that they were instituting in Texas for a teacher to pull up in case there was an active shooter. Remember that, like the bulletproof wall that they had going up in front of the door? I was like, how about we just get rid of the guns, you guys? What are we doing?
Oh, yeah. My home state of Florida, they were like, give the teachers guns. Teach the teacher how to shoot. I'm like, that seems not smart. All right. Well, my fix is also related to AI. Delon, do you know who Hank Green is? Hank Green is a very famous science YouTuber. His brother is John Green, the writer who wrote the book The Fault in Our Stars, which also went on to become a very popular YA video. They also founded VidCon, which is a big YouTube social media conference. They used to go by the Vlogbrothers online. Hank Green has gotten into some hot water this week as he admitted that he has an unhealthy relationship with AI and he is going to be taking a break because in one of his videos, it appears that he left in a prompt from ChatGPT in the script. So he has a show called Ask Hank where he, does user submitted questions, and him and his brother, they do a lot of stuff about like science and the humanities, and they make this like educational content. But in the video, he said, I appreciate the pushback, which is something that ChatGPT says when you say like, that was wrong, I didn't like that. ChatGPT is like, great, you made a great point. I appreciate the pushback. It's like very deferential in that way. And so a lot of people were like, that sounds like ChatGPT. And I guess I have not watched their videos in a long time, but a number of people said that they had felt like there were past videos that had some little tells. Like one thing it does is it's like, it's not that, it's this is a thing that it does a lot. And there were some videos where people felt like the explanations didn't make sense. Again, this hallucinating. And so this clip started going viral, and then Hank took to Twitter to actually acknowledge it. And he said in a tweet that's now been deleted, I think it's fair to say I was relying too much on AI notes. That's a thing I've been doing. It's a bad habit at a time when I've overcommitted myself. So he deleted the tweet. It kind of did the thing where it like became a bigger conversation after he deleted it. Then over on Reddit, people were talking about it, and he did show up in the comments, and he left what I say amounts to an apology. In class, we love to talk about apologies here on the pod, so I'm curious, Delon and class, what you think about this response. I won't read the whole thing, but he says, I'm mortified that I've let so many people down, and I understand how this happened. 3 things to start. I'm going to change how I make stuff. We've posted Complexly, which is the name of his company or where the show was at. Their AI policy is public and well considered and adhered to by the whole team. I think it's worth reading. The thing that everything we do is based on is that what I'm saying are my thoughts coming from my brain in a way that I decide. I've made that harder and I'm sorry. I've been relying too heavily on AI as a research aid. It can be very useful for this task, giving me access to lots of papers I didn't know existed really fast, but I think it's been a detriment to my work because it's not given me the freedom to find all of my own ways into and around a topic. I need to come to terms with the fact that the level of dopamine I've been getting from interacting with LLMs, with doing more and more and more, is not healthy for me or good for the world. It is careless and has disconnected me from where people are on this. I was talking about this with my wife last night, and she did not pull any punches. Frankly, neither did my brother, John Green. Neither of them think I've been healthy, and I need to readjust. So he went on to say that he's going to pause making content for a little bit and reassess. And there's been a big conversation around, like, is it fair that people said, like, hey, why are you using AI in this way? And also, like, is this apology something that people are going to accept as enough? And like, again, I have my own thoughts about it, but I'm curious about you, Delon, because there are people that are like, he doesn't need to apologize. He can do whatever he wants. And I feel like, your audience ultimately can decide how they feel about it. And so clearly he felt that he needed to say something because his audience was not happy.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he was getting backlash about it. And what's crazy to me about here, it's really a good apology. It's actually like really wholesome and or fulsome rather, and vulnerable and transparent. And I really dig it. Because there's such a need for this on the internet sometimes. It's starting to sound pat to me. It's starting to sound a little routine, even when they like, I've gone away. I'm going to take a step back.
Yeah.
I've asked my community. I know I did wrong. I apologize. Yeah. Like, because there is such a need for it in these instances with people who have an audience. It just sounds routine to me in some ways,
Yeah, that's fair.
That said, I do think we're all allowed to make mistakes. I think does he need to apologize? No, he felt the need to apologize. I do think when you have an audience, you have a responsibility to the authenticity of your voice, especially if you're asking them to believe facts and or opinion. There's just, you're asking us, we're asking the class to continue to sit with us and hear our opinion and facts, and it has to be authentic enough. We try to do a good job of, I try to say often, hey, this is something I saw on TikTok. This creator, the whole thing about the BTS thing is stuff that I saw on TikTok because my timeline, my algorithm was going crazy. And I was like, okay, well, let me look at this a little bit further. So being authentic and truthful in that respect, you are somebody I think is utterly transparent in your work, or you really, really make an effort to be. So I think the apology is warranted for him and his audience, because I think he probably, it just seems like to me he did them a disservice by not disclosing where he was getting a lot of his content from.
Well, it's a few things because, ultimately he can and should do whatever he wants in terms of how he creates content. But I've seen a number of people say this, so I will repeat, my own version of it. But like, if you can't take the time to write something and then even do the bare minimum of reading back what you wrote before you then put it out and we consume, and then you make money off of, right? Because he has a very prolific career. He's been a YouTuber for a long time. I know Hank. We're not super close, but we've worked together. I've gone to VidCon a number of times. And so he is somebody who has had a lot of success and has built an audience who trust him. And so essentially, this gives the impression that, again, if you want to use ChatGPT, but you didn't even take the time to read back what it wrote to make sure that it made sense, it's not surprising that people are really upset about that.
Yeah.
And so he has said that he's going to take a step back. One thing that he said that I do think is worth investigating or really considering is that he has felt a lot of pressure to keep up the output of content creation. And I highlighted this comment where he says, you know, for everyone saying, why don't you just make less? No one is making you do this. I'm not sure that's how I work. I've been feeling the pressure of, oh, I have this little video idea. I need to get it out real fast so I can get to the more important stuff. And I create when I feel that pressure. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot, especially after we've just come off of The Artist Way. This need that a lot of creatives, especially those of us on social media, feel that we have to create immediately.
Yeah.
And that if we don't get it up fast enough, the algorithm's going to move on and people aren't going to want, like, this immediacy. It's not good for us. And even pre-AI, I don't think it's good for the creative spirit to feel like, I got to move as fast as possible before somebody else does it. And I can say that from personal experience where I have felt like, man, everyone's talking about this thing. So I need to say something before it's too late. And I really had to check myself and start saying, do I have anything worth saying here? And I would say to Hank and to anybody else, if you don't have the knowledge to speak on something, that tells me you feel compelled to speak on this, but by your own admission, you don't know enough. So now you're asking AI to do it. That tells me maybe this is not the topic for you. And that's okay.
Yeah, I would add to that too, like just talking about the formula of, or the anxiety or pressure of, oh my God, this is a hot topic. I'm a content creator. I should say something about this because why? Because I can get views. I can make money. It's also a little bit of a validation loop of like, oh, great, the numbers are going. But the other side of that coin is, oh, the video's not doing that well. Why is it not doing that well? Oh, I really expected it to do that well. And so it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that like you get the dopamine of like, oh man, I had a fucking viral video. But then like you have the crash of, well, that one did really well. Why didn't that one do well? There's no rhyme or reason to it. I mean, you know this better than I do, but it doesn't help with your psychology. It doesn't.
No.
It's like a continued dopamine loop, of like trying to get that hit,
and that's what he said. Yeah. And look, I don't know how many followers he has on that channel, but like, these are people in the millions. They have huge audiences, and I think my fix here. And this is not just about Hank, this is all creatives. It's like really getting back to what is your why? Because if you're just chasing views, then you are going to set yourself up where you do get to a place where you're like, I have to do anything I can to make this content so I can get those views. If your goal is to tell a truthful story, if your goal is to educate people, sometimes that's going to take more time. And I'm of the mind, that's when you pass the mic. Like, that's when you say, I don't have the knowledge to tell this story. Who can I interview? Who can I reach out to that's an expert in this field? And I can use my platform to uplift them and also educate my audience and admit to my audience, this is not my area of expertise. And I think this is a challenge for a lot of creators, not just Hank, who have billed themselves as like an expert on a little bit of everything. You can't be an expert on everything. And I think you just have to be willing to say, like, my lane is science. So I'm going to stay in my science lane. And if people are asking me to speak on something I'm not familiar with, you're allowed to go, that's not really my area. Watch this show, or this week I brought in this specialist. And I think people need to be more okay with that, especially if your goal is to tell a truthful story. You have to admit sometimes I'm not the one to tell this story.
I would also say, yeah, you can tell a truthful story. If you don't know that much about that topic, you could also just say, this is my opinion. You
Right.
don't have, I mean, it sounds like factual information is his brand. So I completely concede that. I don't know these people. I've
Yeah.
never really,
It's
maybe
a
I've
lot
seen
of
some of their content, but I
it's a
haven't seen
lot
it.
of science. It's a lot of like history, and it's factual. It's things that require research. And I
Yeah.
think to extrapolate what he's saying here is, if he is on a grind of we have to put out an episode every single week, a week is not a lot of time to do in-depth research. Now, again, I don't know his finances, but you could hire somebody whose job is to do that research.
Yeah, totally.
And or, I think a lot of creators get into this. And again, I've been guilty of it too, where you're like, I have to put out. I love a break. And I have taken 3 months off of social media so I can do other things, but also to just give my mind time to regenerate. So I'm glad that he's taking this time off. I hope other creatives do the same.
Yeah.
You can't just, no one has forced you into this schedule. You could create seasons the same way that TV shows have seasons. You could give yourself the summer off. You could have rotating hosts. You could have people who are specialized in certain areas that if you don't feel confident enough to speak on them, you can hand them over to them. You could do the artist way.
Right. Go ahead. It helps. It helps.
It helped.
Yeah. I'm really I'm glad you brought this, because I do think, again, the apology, like I said, it sounds pat, but I think it's earnest, and I think that's the thing that I'm taking away from it, not really knowing the situation. And I hope that they take some of your advice, because it's really solid. Yeah, slow down, take a break.
Yeah, I'm a little biased because I know him. We're not super close, and I would hope if he does see this, because maybe he would know. One thing about Francesca, I keep it real. I'm not going to say something on the show I wouldn't say to your face. I think he did the right thing by acknowledging it. I think this is one of those things where like time will tell.
Yeah.
Because I think it's up to his audience to decide how they feel about it. And he did say that he's going to take a step back. He's going to reassess how they operate in the future. And, I think that's all you can do. But I think it would behoove him to kind of lift the veil on the process when he decides to come back.
I think that's smart.
Let's talk about how we write the show and who we employ and what research looks like. And like
once he has the new format figured out, once he's done that assessment and processed it for himself, I think that's smart. Yeah.
Yes. Class, tell us in the comments what you think about the apology. Are you accepting it? Do you watch his show?
Do you know who these people are?
On YouTube, they're very popular. So I wasn't surprised you didn't know who they are. But let's now move into comments from the class. We love hearing from you, either in our inbox at lemmefixitpod@gmail.com or on Instagram at fixitpod, or right here on YouTube. DeLon, can I go first?
Sure.
This one comes from J. Ray of Light Creations. It says, Francesca and DeLon, I love how you both on a regular basis give yourself props in the glow up. It's inspiring to this class member to remember to give myself glow ups, because sometimes you just have to give yourself credit even if no one else notices.
That's real.
That's real. I will also say sometimes I give myself a glow up because I don't have one for anyone else.
Same.
And I'm like, ooh, who should I? You know what? It's me this week.
Yeah, well, I think that's really spot on, because sometimes it's really hard in the week to go to find something that feels substantive, right?
Yes.
That feels like, we give props to those who turn themselves around without our help. So oftentimes I'm looking back and going, well, what from the past has come back?
Yes.
What from the past has resurfaced? And I have the best history that I know,
Yes.
So it just makes the most sense, and it's the easiest low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I hope you're giving yourself some glow ups. What's her name?
I don't know the person's gender, but it just says J Ray of Light Creations.
Go ahead, J of Light. J of Light. Go ahead.
All right, what's your comment?
My comment comes from Alexandria J. Hughes, and this was about our move to look at some Black films and maybe review some of them. I just want to like go down the list of one because we got a lot of suggestions. Thank you for sending them, class. Comment on this video if you have any suggestions for any film, but for classic Black films is what I think we're going to try to do in our Sunday slot. Fran and I are going to talk off mic about when that's going to happen. But get in the comments or get at us, lemmefixitpod@gmail.com or on social media at fixitpod. But Alexandria J. Hughes put number one, Poetic Justice.
Oh,
and the reason I wanted to name these films is because I've seen these films, a lot of them.
It's been a long time.
I don't remember them. Like I remember specific scenes, but I don't remember them. Juice, seen it, barely remember.
Have not. I don't think I've seen Juice.
I know it's violent, you know. The Best Man, great film. My family loves that film. Barely remember it. Now, Love and Basketball, I have seen that very recently.
Because I think we did an episode about Love and Basketball.
Did we do it? Did we do a whole one?
We sure did. We watched Love and Basketball.
Basketball. I mean, there's some great scenes in that movie. Anyway, Sanaa Lathan. Anyway, that's on there. Boys in the Hood. Now, that's one I grew up watching a lot, but I barely remember. Again, violent. Barely remember it.
Yeah, and
Cuba Gooding Jr.
I have the same thing where I have like little flashes of it. I feel like I know the like gifs from these movies, right? Where I like see Cuba Gooding with that like with his hair kind of sticking out of that hat,
high top fade,
the
yellow like shirt. Yes,
yes.
And then they have the next ones are not Black films, but they are from the millennial era. Okay. So Honey, is that the Mariah Carey film, Honey?
No, that's the Jessica Alba film where she's the dancer.
Okay. Okay. So that's on there. Stomp the Yard, also a dance film. Never Back Down. I don't know that one.
I don't know that one
either. If you know
either.
that one, let us know. And or Alexandria, please let us know what that specific film is. We all have Google. We could Google it too. Gridiron Gang.
Don't know that one either.
I don't know that one either. So class, again, let us know. We are trying to aggregate as many titles as we can. I know that Poetic Justice is high on my list.
Yeah.
There was another film that I was thinking
Janet Jackson and those braids, man. That movie came out and every girl had those braids.
Big old box braids with that tight waist and them big old jeans.
And with the scrunchie on the top.
Yeah. Oh, God. God, we are the culture, yo. We are the culture.
We really are.
So that's mine. Why don't we hop over to the glow up as we were just talking about it? If you're new here, the glow up, like I said a second ago, is where we give prop to those who's turned themselves around with our help. Very akin with the ethos of Let Me Fix It. They fix themselves. Do you mind if I go first, Fran?
Sure, please do.
Great, since I got the mic. I'm giving it up to therapy, specifically couples therapy, partially because I have not a lot. I have like a handful of friends who, relationships are hard. Marriage is hard. You know this, right? Firsthand. We all know relationships are hard. But I've been watching this woman, Dr. Orna from Couples Therapy. Have you heard of her?
Oh, yeah. That show is in Paramount. Yeah.
I have just discovered this woman in this show, and I'd be sitting on YouTube diving deep with these couples.
Mess.
But also the way, the reason I'm giving it up to therapy, I'm also giving it up, I said earlier in this episode, adjacent to listening. If you watch this woman listen to these people and really reflect, and she'll be like, no. But you understand are you listening to what he just said? He said this. Are you hearing that? It's so significant. I learned so much by watching it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this to the class. I'm saying this to any of my friends watching. I've been talking to my other friends with relationship issues, being like, you should watch this show on YouTube because there's a lot of helpful hints. If nothing else, it's a lot of catharsis about couples struggling and seeing you're not the only ones.
Yeah.
But also tips on how to get through it and seeing relationship successes. A lot of these people have issues, but I find in the stuff that I'm watching that they have a lot of success, that she really helps them. Class, if you watch couples therapy, please let us know in the comments. It's wonderful.
It's good. I see a lot of clips on TikTok where there are people just showing their whole ass in therapy.
They forget the cameras are around.
Yeah, they really do. It's truly a fascinating show. If you ever get to watch the actual show, the therapist, Orna, she also goes to therapy, like in a group
Oh,
with
that's
other
right.
therapists, and they talk about their challenges with their clients. And that part I found to be very fascinating. But yeah, I agree. It is really powerful to see people developing healthier strategies to talk to each other. And again, that listening and not when me and my ex went to therapy, there was a lot of challenges around you couldn't speak in absolutes. That was one thing that we weren't allowed to do. So you couldn't say you never, you always, because that's not true. Or one thing that was really hard is before you were allowed to respond, you had to reiterate what the
That's
other person
right.
had said in order to really show that you had heard them. Not that you agreed, but you heard what they had said.
Right.
Ooh, that shit was hard. But now I try to do that in my personal life and my professional life.
Yeah, that's really smart. It's a really smart practice. You've talked about it on the pod before. I also think it slows down your thinking process because you
Yeah.
automatically want to get defensive, or you automatically forget defensive. You automatically want to speak. You want to
You stop
insert yourself.
listening.
Yes,
You
yes.
what do they say? Speak to, listen to understand instead of listening to respond. And a lot of people struggle with that. And I see that especially online. First of all, a lot of y'all motherfuckers can't read, but people are so quick to be like, you think blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's like, no, you haven't actually listened to what I've said because you've been formulating your comeback. Oh, so you think X, Y, and Z. Oh, so you think, followed by something I did not say and do not think is not a way to talk to me.
Well, and this is one of the issues, one of the culprits that propagates surveillance culture with the internet, right? Class, I'm a teacher. A lot of times I've seen with my students, there's an unwillingness to look stupid. There's an unwillingness to be a clown. I say this all the time in my class. We are clowns. Actors are clowns. We live for 2 hours. We live on the extremes of emotion, on the extremes of human experience. You have to be willing to fall on your face, especially in a classroom when you're learning. You have to be willing to take a big, bold choice. And I know it's about, I'm going to make a mistake. Oh, someone's recording this. Oh, there's a whole view. I'm going to send this video to you to link it in the comments, Frank, because I don't remember where it's who the young man who says it, but he's on this round table and he's like maybe in his 30s. He's like, when I go out, nobody dances anymore because everyone's scared of being recorded.
Yes.
And he makes such a cogent, clear point. He's like, I'm going to bastardize what he said, but he's like, do you know how hard it is to keep a mammal from mating? Do you know how hard that is?
I saw that.
No one's having babies anymore. Why is that? Because we're not dancing. We're not dancing because we're afraid of what we're going to look like. We're afraid that we're going to be recorded. We're afraid we're going to be rejected. And that all has to do with social media. A lot of it anyway. A lot of it.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think to your point about listening and especially on the internet, it is pointing fingers. It is, you said this, you did this, and you spend a lot of time going, that's not what I said.
That's not what I
said.
said.
You read it. Right? I can go back and show you the receipts of what I said.
I mean, one of my favorite things to do is say, can you point out where I said that? A timestamp would be fabulous. Tell me the exact minute. Because I know, and I'm somebody that chooses my words very carefully to a fault, because I really try to be fair. And it is, again, that was one of the biggest lessons from couples therapy, is I really try to avoid telling other people how they think. Another one is, you made me feel this way. I try to not do that. And I try to instead say, I feel this way about something that happened. Not that you made me feel that way, because I am in charge of my feelings.
Right.
I'm allowed to feel however I want.
Right.
But you are not responsible for them.
Right.
And that is a really difficult adjustment to make. It's a lot easier to default to you did this and you always and you never and blah, blah, blah. So I love that you watched couples therapy and you took away these lessons.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I learned so much, and I also have so much empathy for these people, and sometimes I'm like, man, you are a terrible partner. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And sometimes I'm like, you are a beautiful soul, right? But
Or
to
you are
see
too good for this relationship. You need to go.
that part. But and being a man too, watching a lot of, there's like a couple of queer couples, but there's
Mm-hmm.
like watching a lot of straight couples and watching sometimes the man really start to think and feel and then talk about how they feel for the
Yeah.
first time in the relationship and have
Yeah.
the female identifying partner go, oh, great, or you finally said it, I just wanted you to say it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, we are so stuck as men, we are so stuck. Thank you, Dr. Orna, for getting us unstuck. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Oh
What's
my
your glow up?
goodness. Well, my glow up is going to go to Nancy Grace. You remember Nancy Grace? Nancy Grace is back.
With that old helmet hair.
Nancy Grace is back, and she is taking on this Nolan Wells case. So, class, if you are familiar, Nolan Wells was the Black teenager whose body was recovered in Mississippi over 4th of July weekend after he went on a boat trip with his white friends. And there's been a lot of discourse around what happened and who's at fault. And Nancy Grace said, you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to revive my career and I'm taking this shit on. And it's been really interesting. I had not heard from Nancy Grace maybe.
Decades.
Yeah, the last thing I can think about was when homegirl
Casey
Anthony.
She tore Casey Anthony
Top mom is what she would call her.
She
Top
put her
mom.
in the grave, not literally, but she really did tear her up.
She really did. And look, class, there's been a lot of conversation online about, Nancy Grace's ethics because she tends to sensationalize and she really, plants her flag and says, I believe that this person is guilty or I believe that this person is innocent. And she, often gets accused of exploiting tragedy for ratings. I will say it has been refreshing and a little surprising because usually, if it's a missing white woman, Nancy Grace is on the case. So to see her taking up in defense of Nolan Wells and his family has, again, the bar is in hell. But most recently, there's a viral clip of Nancy Grace interviewing this Black dude, Officer Tatum. He is like a right-wing Black podcaster who was crying about, Charlie Kirk. He was one of the first people who Nolan Wells's friends sat down for an interview with him, which that should speak volumes.
Sus.
And so Nancy Grace interviewed him and she is taking him to task because he's getting tripped up in his words. He's making all sorts of excuses. I mean, he is really on the side. And again, we weren't there. We don't know what happened. But this is a Black man who has made a living off of saying a lot of, racism isn't that bad. And he's on that Jubilee show right now doing, a Black conservative surrounded by. So he's kind of doing his own little press tour and keeping his name in the news. So I'm like, Nancy, why did you have this man on your show? But it was kind of cathartic because she was ripping him a new asshole. So again, she is not flawless.
She's to say the least.
Controversial for sure. But I was surprised because I was like, where has Nancy been?
She's been on a beach, spending that money.
So.
I'm glad she's taken up the Nolan Wells case because we do need advocates. We need it to stay in the forefront of the news, and because we all, I mean, like you said, friend, we weren't there, but I do have a strong belief there's some foul play just based on the events that happened after that of what I've read and seen.
Well, and she actually played a 911, or not was the 911 call, but I guess they called the Coast Guard, and there was a Black woman online who is an audio engineer who like really cleaned up the audio, and you could hear them in the background being like, "Is he dead? Is he dead?"
And they called
the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard is like, is everybody on the boat alive? And they're all screaming. Again, it is clear that something happened and they have not been honest about it.
Wow.
Because, he wanted to stay on the island and we just left him there. We don't know what happened to him. Well, they have this tape now and it's very clear that they knew that he was not alive. So again, shout out to Nancy Grace for using her platform in this way. It is unfortunate that there are a certain demographic that won't listen unless somebody
Yeah.
that looks like them is talking about it. This is unfortunately the reality that we live in. So again, I don't want to give cookies for the bare minimum, but I was really surprised because I had not seen or heard from Miss Nancy Grace, but she's very passionate about this, and hopefully that maybe opens some people's eyes and gets this the attention it deserves.
Well, listen, class, you better get on Nancy and look at that Aquanet hair, if y'all know what I mean. that old hard helmet. It is hard. It ain't going nowhere.
No.
Yeah, class, this was a fulsome episode. We did
Yes.
it's like an hour, almost an hour and a half.
Yeah,
So
it's very substantial.
you're welcome. You're welcome. If you're new here, please hit subscribe and hit notification because we have new episodes every Wednesday. We also have a beautiful live chat that friend usually facilitates. I hop in when I can. But please let us know by sticking around and subscribing. And then also, like we said, let us know if you want us to do some Black movies. Give us some movies that you want us to review so we can fill up that Sunday slot like we've been doing with The Artist's Way.
Absolutely. Or if there is a TV show or a celebrity whose career you want us to talk about reviving, or a fix that you have come across in the news, email us, lemmefixapod@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice note tagline, or you can send it to us as text and we might include it in the show. I'm Francesca.
I'm Delon, and this was
Lemme. Fix it. They switched it up on us.